at his Ward 11, Unit 1 polling unit along the Iwo Road axis of Ibadan, the state capital. Now, in the chat with Arise News, Governor Makinde describes the election as seamless, while hoping that the will of voters would prevail. Arise correspondent Olutayo Famous Cole has more.
The late arrival of INEC election materials and personnel in parts of Ibadan, the Oyo state capital, did not stop prospective voters from exercising their rights as they patiently waited to vote. Security agents also mounted strategic points in a bid to forestall any breakdown of law and order, and so as to increase confidence in voters.
Let us all obey the law. The rules are there, let's follow it. And we all have reason to say, thank God, Oyo State remain peaceful.
Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde arrived at Ward 11, Unit 1 polling unit, where he met many persons yet to vote as at 10 a.m., but called for patience. After eventually voted, the governor described the voting as seamless while hoping that it will reflect the true yearnings of Nigerians.
They should be patient. The process is ongoing, it's seamless, and they should exercise their civic responsibility.
In other parts of town, residents trooped out en masse to cast their ballot, while others took to the streets to play football, saying that despite the initial itches experienced at the commencement of the voting, the biometric verification and accreditation system, BVAS, was largely effective.
I think so far it looks quite peaceful, and everything is progressing well. From where I've been to and where I casted my votes, it's obvious that INEC were there on time, and most people actually casted their vote quite early.
The only reason that I see is that maybe the current situation of our country, I mean the cashless policy that caused everything. That is first. Secondly, the INEC official did not come early today. I think they just arrived now, maybe 30 minutes past.
INEC official, they are late before they come this morning. Even we are outside before they come, because I've been outside since 7 o'clock. So, and I will still go there to go and take my number. So before anything, I'll go back to go and take.
The expectations that the winner of the presidential election would help to deliver more dividends of democracy when he is announced by INEC. Olutayo Famous Cole, Arise News, Ibadan.
Oyo State Governor Nyesom Wike has voted in today's presidential election, finally, after he complained about the functionality of the BVAS in his polling unit. Governor Wike has come out with his wife, Suzette Eberechi, at polling unit 7, Ward 9 in Rumwe. Come in or could not vote because the BVAS machine failed to accredit their PVC. After over 2 hours of waiting, a new set of devices were employed and the governor was successfully screened to vote. However, he again failed to accredit her.
You can imagine the large crowd, meaning that so many people will be disenfranchised, and that could lead to a lot of crisis. I can even still believe that of all the promises made after I've left my wife for more than 2 hours, yet the BVAS is still not very functional. I don't want to begin to suspect any foul play, but from the reports I've received from other local governments, it does appear to be the same experience. And then you would now wonder, why should it be peculiar to River State? But I don't think it's quite encouraging. Yeah, my people cannot be disenfranchised. You can see we never had an election where you have this number of crowd. I believe that they will extend the period to 6 p.m. I mean, look at the time now. Voting ought to have started from 8:30 to about 2:30. So I'm not happy with the preparedness of INEC as regards to the BVAS.
Still making the rounds, let's cross over to Kano State, where Benga Ashiri joins us. Benga? All right, Benga, let's actually get the latest. The last time we actually spoke to you, processes were slow. How far has it gone right now? Okay.
Now, back to that region, if I may, Liberos, Governor El-Rufai mentioned the word inconsequential when it comes to ballot snatching. And my question is, isn't this denying the voters their rights, when you take away that ballot? And of course, it still boils down to the same thing that, Oh, okay. We still have, we'll take that question later. Gbenga Ashiru is back online. Gbenga, what more can you tell us? What's the latest update where you are?
Thank you, Aaron and Nee. We are live at Gamma B Ward in Kano, the ancient city of Kano. And interestingly, this ward has a very unpleasant antecedent. It's known as the origin of the inconclusive center in Kano. So you can see the massive deployment of security forces from different security agencies here to ensure that everything is orderly. And live here with us, we have the Commissioner of Police for Kano State, CP Mohammed Yakubu, live with us. Welcome to Arise News.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, how would you rate the security deployments in terms of orderliness of the conduct of this election and in terms of its peaceful conduct?
The deployment we have is very good. We have a good number of men drawn from not only the police but other security services. They are all here doing their work diligently.
Yeah, but we visited some of these polling centers at Kwakwanso polling center at Madubi local government in the stronghold of the hometown of Senator Rabi Musa Kwakwanso, and we saw the crowd control there, which was quite awful in terms of organization, and the security presence was little until we cried out, and before we saw the arrival of security force. What actually?
Yes, the point you were quite outside. The policemen were doing their duty inside. They were protecting the materials for the election. They couldn't have left them to just be going about outside. In fact, that team was led by an SPO. They were there about 14 of them were there with one SPO. So police presence was good there, and they were doing the duty we sent them to do.
Yeah, we saw the massive presence of minors, children, obviously, indiscriminately unchecked at various polling centers. Couldn't this have been better organized to prevent minors from penetrating, from being part of this voting exercise?
It is very difficult to determine by mere appearance who is a minor or not. Most of the ones you are seeing, maybe their genetic, their growth rate might be impaired. So I don't know. All those that you see voting, they are those that have been approved by INEC, and I cannot change it.
Okay, thank you, CP Mohammed Yakubu, the Commissioner of Police for Kano State. We wish you and the rest security agents the best of luck as you ensure a peaceful conduct of this exercise. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
All right.
Back to you.
Go ahead.
Okay, Gbenga Ashiru, thank you very much. Okay, back to you in the studio here. Of course, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu actually spoke, and we'll also be getting Jack's opinion about this. He mentioned some major talking points, one of them being that elections have been postponed in Bayelsa, in 4 wards, 141 polling units in Bayelsa State till tomorrow, 26th. So, and of course, he also mentioned we'll be getting reports about that in Essen North, Essen South, and the Gueben, where it says elections have been postponed till the 11th of March. More clarity will be given. But first of all, let's start here in the studio. We spoke about this.
The one for Eastern North, South, and Igwebe will not hold, according to the INEC chairman, ballot materials have been destroyed and in some cases snatched. And so they will have to print another ballot papers in those places. Were they destroyed or that? No, political parties' logo were not on the ballot. And so there's need to reprint the ballot so that will give everybody opportunity to be part of the process. Otherwise, that would be, giving room for cancellation of that election.
What does this mean for the electoral process?
So there's needs. If it is the presidential, then that means we'll have to wait a long time for a result to come, because if it is the presidential election in those areas that is postponed till on the 11th, that means you need to conduct elections in those areas for you to add the number of votes from those areas to the number that voted before you determine the actual outcome of the election.
Very good.
But if it is just the parliamentary, then the presidential election result would have been announced, and then the parliamentary election would hold simultaneously with the state parliamentary election and the governorship election in that area. But I need to get clarity, like I said before, I need to get clarity on that. But for the Bayelsa that is holding tomorrow, that means all materials are available, but that for logistic reasons, election could not hold in this polling unit. And so that's why they would, according to in compliance with the provisions of section 47.3, there's need to hold the election within 24 hours.
All right, Liberals, very good. Ozi Okoli in Okota rather, area of Lagos. Ozi, you're in Okota now. What more can you tell us?
We are presently at the polling unit of 070. This particular polling unit is experiencing a challenge, and that challenge has to do with uploading the results that have been already acknowledged by the INEC officials here. And if you look around, you see a huge number of people who have vowed that they will not leave this place loaded. Luckily, the INEC officials were able to upload the results of the House of Senate and then Representative Assembly, but the results for the presidential candidates yet to be uploaded, and they have vowed that they will not leave this particular place until it is done. I have some other one or two persons here who would like to talk to us concerning the situation here, especially how it all started. So tell us your name.
Okay, my name is Adako Okorom, one of the registered voters for this polling unit, which is 070 Otuba Joachim / Ezemebo Drive Junction. We started right on time. Our NEC officials showed up. I was the first person to cast my vote. And before 2, we were all done. And of course, to keep in terms with INEC's guidelines, we waited till 2:30 for the results to be counted, and then for us to verify that it was okay. And since then, we've been waiting for the upload of the results. Well, we waited a bit, and there were some agitations here and there. People were very upset, angry over the whole situation. And after we had intervened and people had tried to achieve some calm, they were able to upload the National Assembly results. But unfortunately, it is still quite surprising, and we're still asking questions why that should go through and the presidential results are yet to be uploaded. Because those who have cast their votes here have vowed that the officials will not leave this polling units until the results are uploaded to the site, which is the requirement, and that is what it should be. So, and we're wondering why of all the results, the presidential elections, the results are not being uploaded. So we are asking questions, please, what is going on? You understand? And we are waiting. We are here. We mean business. We are going nowhere. And for the sake of this INEC officials who we are feeling open and allow them upload these results so we can return back to our homes. We mean for a peaceful and fair election. That's what we stand for. Thank you.
You can see the cheering and the jeering based on the fact that they really meant business staying here to ensure that the results are uploaded. It is no longer NEC officials, beavers, malfunctioning or whatever. The problem here now is the uploading of results to INEC server.
Much Ozzy Okoli for the job you've actually done. And coming to you, Jack in Abuja. Jack, of course, we've just heard from Ozzy speaking in Okota, one of the places that Professor Mahmoud actually mentioned as having security challenges. Of course, he mentioned Mafuluku, Oshodi, and Legushi. I want to get your overview because he mentioned quite a lot of states and the security challenges they are encountering. And more importantly, that hoodlums and detractors certainly have been targeting these beavers machines, although RFI says that it's to no avail. But talk to us about these developments we're seeing actually play out.
Yeah, so our sense around the insecurity the country is this. In as much as we know the beavers is a game changer, and this election cycle we've seen the zeal for Nigerians to register to get their PVCs and also to come out and vote. From our observation, the amount of citizens coming out to turning up to vote, it's impressive so far, and we have to look at the political economy of the entire election, security and economic environment. So before the elections, we've already we've thought of this with the economic hardships with regards to scarcity of the naira and also scarcity of fuel. Analysts have seen that it's a way to suppress vote buying. We've anticipated that skirmishes and violence in this nature may likely come up to disrupt the elections. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the key indicators we use for our analysis is its identity. And Nigerian politics historically has been the issue of identity, right? And the current election, it's really heightened with regards to the identity situation. So where voters have to weigh between
Jackson, I want to say thank you for your time.
Ethnic.
As Nigeria still decides, we'll be stretching our tentacles to Edo State, where Adibe Emeyonu, a reporter with our sister publication, This Day newspaper, is there in Edo State to give us clarifications. Adibe, talk to us. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu spoke about Edo State, Esa North, Esa South, and Igweben. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that the INEC has stopped the election in that Delta constituency because of the missing logo of Labour Party. First, when the youth, the voters discovered that, they protested that without the Labour Party logo, there will be no election, and the REC, yielded to that request and postponed the election. But every other election, the Senate and the presidential election,
Yes. Sir George, you're welcome.
Okay, massive mark.
Yes, I was following up with the program, but you put yourself in the frame, so it's okay. So since
Okay, I didn't know
here,
what was going on.
Okay, yes, you're now live. It's live, and you're all welcome again to our section, the second session of the Federal Republic of Nigeria presidential election and the NASS elections too. So George and I were here now to continue where we stopped. We're giving updates on what is going on. A lot of things are happening. Clips have been coming in from different corners, showing what is going on in many police stations in Lagos, in the southeast, in the southwest, and north central. So anyway, George, what do you have? What's your take? What are you seeing from your corner?
Well, so quite a few number of things have been going on, and one of them is actually that some polling units we're discovering, just like what we showed before we went on break, that some of those the INEC brought some of these what they are supposed to be using, where they're going to be putting their thumb print, and the Labour Party was not there, so the masses protested, and they postponed the election, possibly until they're able to print another one and put a Labour Party there. There are quite a few number of things happening, like in Enugu, where there were gunshots. People were not able to go and vote. And so a few number of disruptions. In Bayelsa, I believe that the election has been postponed also. So we've seen quite a few number of things, and there has been a few number of polling units where people, hoodlums, went in and then just destroyed the whole entire place and threw away. One of them was saying that it was a PDP group that came and disrupted everything and scattered the whole entire papers and everything all over the place. And the video is running, is all over the place now. So this is what we are really seeing. Quite a few number of mishaps, and I'm not quite sure how INEC will be able to handle some of these issues. I think you're muted.
How they handle this is basically to follow the constitutional rule in our national, in the constitution. Nigerian constitution has a section for elections, by-elections, subsequent elections, and everything about election. So what INEC is going to do is follow those rules that are on ground for such a situation. What we know is probably there might be a runoff. A runoff means so many shortcomings happened and they have to redo again. So we know, with the way we are seeing things, I think that's where we're heading to. So, but let's do you have more on ground situation? Are there more on ground situations you have? Because what we are having is a lot of destruction, a lot of differentializing people of their rights, and it's not nice, yes, of their votes. In the Southwest mainly, many people are complaining of not having access to votes. So what do you have again? Then we could also follow the partners network on what updates they have. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, let's do that, because they have different representatives in different areas that are reporting in and bringing in information on live information. Yeah, currently I think this one is from Kwankwanso area that we are looking at right now. Yeah, so a couple of vehicles came into that place, and they demanded to find out what was in the vehicles, but I'm not quite sure whether they have already discovered what was in the vehicles. So quite a few number of mishaps that are taking place around, and so that's where we are right now. So let's listen to what they have. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So here is the vehicle.
That's right.
It's still driving off. You can catch. Okay, the vehicle is outside. Okay. No problem. So I think the situation has been laid to rest now. You can hear the up sound saying no problem. We hope indeed, but only if we could have. It would have been nice to know the content of this vehicle, so that we can be sure that the process is indeed credible.
Hello, you said there were two vehicles. Binga, can you hear me?
Hello, Steve.
You said there were two vehicles, right? You said there were two that came to the place. There were two vehicles that came to the spot. What I want to ask is that what was in the first vehicle and under what party was it? You said there were two vehicles that came to. What was inside the vehicle?
The other one, we've not been able to ascertain the political party that vehicle belongs to, but we understand that he agreed to open up his vehicle and they saw that there were no suspicious item or questionable item in the vehicle. So, but this particular one that had made off had refused to open the vehicle in the face of strong suspicion that it might contain some sensitive items that might influence the outcome of the voting process here.
It wasn't seen physically. It's just based on suspicion. It's not like anybody actually saw what was inside the vehicle to make these assumptions.
Based on suspicion, but but the big question is, why has it refused to open up his vehicle in the face of pressing the man, in the face of such a strong agitation for him to open up?
Yes,
because this is meant to be a transparent process.
Was there any intervention, Benga? If I can come in, was there any intervention from the security officers there, the police officers? If this is not a vehicle that is linked to INEC, ordinarily, there ought to be an intervention from the security agencies.
Unfortunately, we've not been able to hear from any security agents here. We've not been able to cite any security agent at this polling center so far. So, but we will still continue with our search. We will update you. We'll bring you up to speed on what best we can gather from what just happened now.
There's no police presence in that venue. Are there any security presence? Is there any security present there?
We've not been able to cite any security agents at this polling center.
I mean, could you?
George, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now, yes.
That's Kwankwaso polling booth. The Kwankwaso, Kwankwaso's name and his region are almost similar. And we're hearing that a vehicle came that was carrying things. Two vehicles came, and one of the vehicles was suspicious. So, but we don't know what it is. What we're also hearing from other network is there are some really not very pleasant performance, threats. People are being threatened. Southwest, Lagos is reporting threats on the lives of people, and people not being able to vote, being disfranchised from their rights. So we don't know. What do you think will happen with this, George? With all these shortcomings, apart from a runoff, what do you think will be another outcome of all this?
Well, it depends on how many polling units were disrupted, number one. And then also because what you're seeing is people that are bent on making sure that their votes count. In one of the polling units, they were trying to upload the results, and they said that they were having issues with it. And most of the citizens there refused that the INEC officials will not leave until the presidential results are uploaded before they will allow them to leave. So, and they have agreed that they will continue to wait. The INEC officials continue to try until they successfully will be able to do that. Now, what we saw also that it was easy for the senatorial votes to be uploaded, but their question is, why is it that only the presidential election, results are the ones that are having issues being uploaded? So we hope that this is not a common problem around the nation, because that could result into something that is very bad. Also, there was another area where there were another polling unit where somebody was shouting, if you're here for vote for APC, you can go ahead and vote. But if you're not, please leave. We don't want you here. So that is actually disenfranchising people from exercising their voting rights. It's not supposed to be that way. And all these things are happening in the West. So evidently, we're seeing quite a few number of disruptions in Lagos State, especially, where people are, being forced not to, either if they're not going to vote for APC, that they are not going to stay there. So this is what we are seeing right now in different areas. I think you're muted.
I have to. There's a background noise where I am, so I have to stay mute for some time. Yes. So yes, not too good stories, but the election is going on regardless of, and we know at the end of today, at least because there's a ratio, there's a way they have placed the winning factor. So that winning factor will still come out at the end of the day. And if there will be a runoff, we will also know. But presently, we think what's more important is people are coming out to vote. Election is holding on today. We never knew it would be like this. We all thought probably it will be postponed. But the 2023 Federal Republic of Nigeria election is going on as planned. And we are happy to be part of it. We are happy to be part of this time, also giving back information on what is going on. So as we take a break and we continue. So viewers, you're welcome, and stay with us as we give updates on what is going on. Thank you. George, that was our vice president. The LP presidential candidate's wife.
Okay, Peter Obi.
Yeah, Peter Obi's wife dancing in an event some time ago. So, George, we are seeing something in Adamawa. This is a live coverage of the PDP presidential candidate. He has casted his votes. So, but we don't know what is going on there again. But we know he casted his votes in the morning, and he actually confessed to a good performance by INEC. So that's the PDP presidential candidate there in Adamawa, north central of Nigeria, northeast Nigeria.
Arise, oh, compatriots, Nigeria's call, obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Oh God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty.
Welcome. You're tuned into Nigerian Decides 2023 presidential election live coverage. SSM News Echo. George and I are here. George, there is something we need to talk about, and that is before we left, we were talking about democracy. We were talking about the act of democracy working, how far democracy has gone in Africa. What's your take on that? I didn't hear what you said earlier on. What will you say? Has democracy really been? Has it worked in Africa? Has democracy given us a good life? Must we follow what the white man is doing? The white man could do democracy because somehow they are orderly. There are a number of them that follow rules, follow how things should be done. But in Africa, where some people might not want to adhere to policy, to things, to arrangements, and do we still need to? Is it working for us? Is democracy working?
Well, democracy is working, although that we are basically at the infancy level of democracy in most African nations. And democracy spells equity, fairness, and justice, and if it's well conducted. But what we are seeing is that we are still very juvenile when it comes to, the democracy in certain parts of the world and in Africa. For instance, if you were to go to somewhere like Russia, which is a developed country, we've seen that democracy is not working, fairly well there, because one individual decides, I'm going to be, the main person that controls everything, and for them, they go through the democratic process, but really we know that it is not a fair, an equitable way for them. But because somebody hijacks it, so you see, democracy has its own issues, especially if it is not done very well. But I believe that if it is well applied, it is very good, because it's government by the people for the people, and the people make a choice and say, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. Now, in the US, the main champions of democracy, we saw what happened in the last election, where somebody decides to say, okay, well, I won the election, but they're not giving it to me. So you can see factions like that happen in different parts of the world and different areas. But I believe that the democracy is the best type of government that can actually, if it's done well, it gives people the choice of choosing who they want to lead them, like what's happening in Nigeria today. So I don't think we should abandon, democratic process, because most of the nations that have actually used it, especially the champions and some of the superpowers that are using it, it's not still perfected yet. So there's still a ways to go. But when it comes to Africa, I think that we are doing fairly well, if all the little loopholes will be covered and taken care of.
If all the little loopholes will be covered and taken care of. But compared to the African old leadership style of the monarch, and we also how the monarchy system helped Africa. In fact, the Africa of today was built on the monarchy of the previous years. So somehow we just imbibed this culture, and we are not taking it, but it has, to me personally, it has not done much good, because we have a higher number, higher percentage of people that democracy has not helped in any way, mainly in Nigeria. There is a high number of people out of the 218 million people. It's just a small number that has enjoyed all of this, and they hang on to the democratic style. They hang on to politics. They hang on to that structure that has put them there. I know a lot of families in Nigeria that buys gas water. Their gas water is bought from federal money, from government money, from contracts and grants from the federal government. Yes, there are families that live strictly mainly on government benefits from year to year till even they die. And it's just a small number of them. Meanwhile, millions and millions of Nigerian citizens don't even have, they don't know where their next meal will come from. So that's why I'm looking at it like that. But since you are saying other countries, most advanced countries to have their flaws in democracy, I want to say that we have not even gained anything at all to talk of flaws. We've not gained out of democracy. Nothing. The average African man has not benefited from democracy. I have my proof. The average African not benefited in democracy. It's just small number of people, few family, few numbers, and
well, you see that's the issue there. The process is, the system itself is good, but the application might be faulty. That's the problem. So now we know, like for instance, part of the things that we are. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We're going to go on a live update again.
Okay.
And
okay.
Let's see. They are giving us some. Let's hear what they have. What's happening again?
And the elderly. We can also get a feel of what it's been like right here at Madobi local government in Kwankwaso town. Can you talk to us, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So what has it been? How's the experience been in terms of voter accreditation, and what are your expectations?
So thank God, as you can see, we have a lot of people coming out to vote. I can say this election is said to be a kind of special election as compared to the previous ones. As you can see, the election process has been peaceful, and this is the normal thing here. We normally conduct our election peacefully because we take ourselves as brothers and sisters. So as you can see, the process is said to be quite normal.
Thank you so much. Yes. So you are hoping to cast your vote anytime from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I should get a clearer picture of what voting looks like, the accreditation process. I will be going inside to see what it looks like. If you can come along with me, Steve and Ruth. You can see they have been here. Many of them since 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where the accreditation is taking place. You can see it's been largely orderly here. These are the officials from INEC ensuring the accreditation process. Can you take us through this process, please?
Okay, my name is Hashim Nazipi. I'm the presiding officer of Galadima Riga, that's 004. And as you can see, the election process is going well. The people are cooperating. Nobody is trying to hesitate or to make somebody angry about this election that's going on. All I can say is the thing is moving smoothly, and we hope everything can end well.
Yeah, the Kwakwanso polling center is a major polling center in Kano. Like how many PVCs collected in this local government in terms of what you expect from this accreditation process?
So about the total number of people that have voters card in this ward, I never can say because I don't have the actual number of the people that have voter card here, but I can say in this polling unit that I'm working here, we have 816 voters accredited here, and we are doing all our best to see all of them have casted their vote, and we can count them by God's grace.
So when is voting expected to commence here? Voting proper?
By 8:30.
Okay, 8:30. Voting had already started. That's apart from the accreditation.
Accredited everybody before. Then now we are moving with the election. They have already started casting their vote, as you can see. So by 8:30 a.m. we have started already.
Thank you so much. You can see quite impressive in terms of orderliness and conduct of this election here in Kwakwanso town in Madobi local government. Like I told you, when it comes to electioneering in Kano, the center stage is always set for magnificent exploits in politicking. And we told you earlier that this is also the polling center of the presidential candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. And when you talk about his personality, he's someone that cultivates a fanatical devotion of his followers, talking about the founder of the Kwakwansia movement in Kano. This is a movement that is very popular in the north. So he's in this race with the top contenders like the PDP presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and the APC presidential candidate Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So you can arguably say that in terms of what to expect from this polling center, that this is indeed the battleground, and this is where the story will be told. Will be told in terms of where the votes would swing. The major pendulum is right here at the Kwakwanso polling center in Madobi local government. Thank you so much, Steve and Ruth.
All right, Benga, thank you indeed. Thank you very much.
It's quite airy.
All right, Kajiria. Well, I mean, that's Kano. You know a bit about Kano.
I do.
You know, I mean, a lot of people will say that is Kwakwanso's turf.
It
but
is.
But then Ganduje, Governor Abdullahi
He's a sitting governor.
Ganduje, is a sitting governor,
Yes.
and is a staunch supporter of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
So here is, I've always speculated, I wonder what would have happened had Kwankwaso and Obi actually gone through with their alliance, right? I think they would have been even a more formidable force than what we've got at the moment. There's no doubt the level of fanatical followership that Kwankwaso enjoys in Kano is, he's almost like a cult figure. You think about him almost like the way Buhari was, you know, President Buhari at one point. So he does no wrong in the eyes of certain people. When he came into Kano, was it yesterday or day before yesterday? People walked him almost, you know, how many 100 kilometers to sort of, and then walked back with his envoy. And it took a long time before they got into town. So I don't normally call elections, but I think Kano is actually going to go to Kwankwaso.
You reckon?
I do.
Okay. Under Ganduje.
No, I think if Ganduje does well for Asiwaju, he will come a very close second. But I don't see how either APC or PDP will take Kano from Kwankwaso.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a bit, but let's bring in our analyst who is ready to join us from Abuja, Frank Tietie. Frank, good morning. Hello, Frank.
Good morning, and my pleasure.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've been following what's going on. It's 1 hour already into the process. Everything started across the country around 8:30. What's your observation, and what are your expectations as as we progress into this very, very important presidential election?
Well, I'm quite impressed with the enthusiasm that Nigerians have expressed so far. The build-up to this election has been quite feverish, and we must commend Nigerians for the tenacity, the resilience that they have displayed, especially in the face of so much hardship preceding this election, particularly with the issue they had with the scarcities of fuel and money. Nigerians are looking forward to this election with a lot of hope, thinking that the real change that they had yearned for 8 years ago would actually be achieved this time around. They just want something different. Nigerians have engaged in serious polemical discussions on social media and on the people-to-people basis. They have expressed a lot of disenchantment with the hopes they had with the Muhammadu Buhari emergence, thinking that Nigeria was going to get to that El Dorado, which it never had. Even though it appears very elusive, if you see the fact that for the first time, we are moving from a two-party styled state of elections to a situation where we now have not just a third force, but a potential fourth candidate that will actually sway the outcome of this election. So we are headed for interesting times. This is not going to be the 1979 election, which led to the debacle of two-thirds, one-quarter, but they hope that there will be a landslide victory for anyone who actually is a popular candidate today. If you look at the headline, the major headline of this day this morning, it said the moment of truth. It is indeed the moment of truth, because every institutions, people, candidates are on trial as we speak. The police, security institutions, and all of that are on trial. We are going to behold ourselves in this country, how we have fared. But I must tell you that INEC has done creditably well so far. I recall in 2015, when the president struggled to get himself accredited, 3 card readers failed. He patiently waited for a 4th one before he could vote. That was the president. But we just saw visuals coming from Adamawa State, which showed a very brisk accreditation process. It shows that we have advanced greatly, not necessarily because of the enactment of the 2022 Electoral Act, but the deployment of seamless technology by INEC is, it shows that we are going to proudly showcase the Nigerian elections to the world, that after a series of elections, the seventh in a row after in our democratic journey, it shows that we have made progress. Reports from electoral observers over the electoral seasons of the past have not been in vain. There's been a tremendous improvement that has culminated in the Electoral Act. So as we speak, if we don't have a runoff, because we shouldn't really have a runoff, because that will really create too much, putting Nigerians into too much tenterhooks, because we will have to wait for another 6 more weeks, possibly, to get the final the outcome of the election, and then for us to have the president-elect. So it is expected that the candidates have worked very hard. And for the first time again, there is a great deal of uncertainty in calling this election. And this is actually a good thing for our democracy, meaning that we have a liberal space. We have a situation where anybody who aspires to become the president of this country can indeed do so, including women, for that matter, and then to get opportunity to be voted for. This is a moment of ecstatic, I would say national ecstasy for many Nigerians. We are going to have, we're going to approach the do no more very, very soon, in the next 24 hours.
Absolutely.
We will now have a direction.
All right. Thank you, Frank Tete. We now have Tokunbo Yetuji Harais, correspondent in Lagos, where Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the candidate of the APC, will be voting with Situation Report. Hello, Tokunbo.
Hi, Steve. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good having you here in Ikeja. We're at Unit 047 Ward 3 here in Alausa, Ikeja. Just look behind me. That is the tent where the INEC officials are being expected. As at this time now, is well after 9 or to 10, if I get my timing correctly. The officials have not been sighted around here since everybody you see here, majority of us are journalists, cameramen, and observers, and even some security, some plainclothes security personnel that have been here. No official of the Independent National Electoral Commission has been sighted. We saw a group of them in a yellow commercial bus. We thought some of them will actually come down here to start setting up, but they drove down the road just behind the Ikeja shopping mall. But we still don't know what's going on. We don't know why almost 2 hours after the scheduled time, they are not here yet to actually set up and start the process, Steve.
Is that just your polling unit, or have you gotten in touch with other people to find out whether other places have actually started voting yet?
Around Alausa?
Around Alausa?
No,
is it just in your area?
No, it's not just here alone. It's the reports we're getting from other areas around here, polling units around here too, is that the situation is the same. We don't know. This yellow commercial bus that you're just seeing behind me,
yes,
it's the same one that conveyed the group of INEC officials that I told you about earlier. So we're hoping probably they'll be coming down to set up now. We don't know, but that is what we are hoping. And if you can see,
cannot hear you.
Can you
You're
hear me,
muted.
George?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
We're going to switch over to another network partner, and that is Router. We'll be connected to Router. They've given me the signal to join their network.
Okay.
So yes, so your viewers, we are following up situation reports update on the 2023 election, 2023 Nigerian election. George and I were still here. So let's go to the next network. So also, George, one thing that should be buttressed is that presently Nigeria should be able to have more more coverage of this election in a more generic way. And what I mean by that is drones should be used. Drones, networking, the government could mobilize INEC with drone machines, drone machines, so that they can also get more coverage. So I think INEC has a lot of work to do in that aspect. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I believe so. If you look at the last two elections and look at this particular election, we've come a long way, especially in technology. I just heard, one of the commentators, talk about what happened when President Buhari went to get accredited and then to vote in the last election, where he the machines failed, but he was patient enough, to wait until the machine was able to, take his accreditation, and then he voted. So we know that we've come a long way, and we know that the next election, some of the hitches and glitches that we have now possibly will be corrected in the next election. So we are moving forward. We're moving forward. That's
Very
right.
good. We're moving forward. Okay, what we're watching presently is a live coverage of, I'm waiting for them to tell me which ward this is, but this is Southwest Nigeria, Southwest, somewhere in Lagos. So let's see where exactly we will soon get the update. So we are hooked up live networking with SSN News Echo, Election 2023, Situation Room, George Chukwu, and myself, Godwin Iwejuwa, giving you the live update as it's happening real time. Thank you.
So what is going on right now? What are they really doing? Is just the processing?
I think it's the actual voting itself. It's the actual voting itself. The actual voting going on. Okay, this is Delta State. This is South Nigeria, Delta State. Okay, George, while the voting is going on, let's talk a little more on the on Nigeria. Let's talk on Nigeria. Very, very humongous country with many cultures, diverse traditions, and different mentality. Now, what will you say could be? Let's mute the coverage. Let's mute the coverage. So, what will you say, George? What will you say could how will Nigeria get to East El Dorado? How will Nigeria get to East APEC in development, in good life for the people? How do you think this can meet up? How can we meet up with these conditions, with these various angles I've just said, not different mentality, different ethnicity, all of it? Go ahead, George.
We were discussing a few minutes ago about what would be the best form of government for Nigeria. And you were mentioning that possibly the monarch system could work for Nigeria. But the weakness of
different regions, monarch at the different regions, not one central one again. It will still look like
yes.
The monarch at the different. The Southeast has their own. The Southwest has their own. I'm just saying.
Nigeria is too big and too diverse, to have such, government to work for it. Look at what's going on. There was a gentleman's handshake when it comes to what you call rotational presidency in Nigeria. Now, so it's a gentleman's agreement. It's not embedded in the Constitution per se, and they have obeyed it since 1999. Now, we've seen, different parts of Nigeria bringing their leader to lead. We've seen from the very beginning, after Gowon, Shehu Shagari, and all the rest of them. So, but you see, the weakness of such, government is that if you were to, say, okay, now, is really the South is supposed to be bringing the presidency right now, because we have seen one from the West, we've seen some from the North, we've seen some from the South, but we haven't seen any from Southeast or South, So this is really, that's what I think, that the best way for Nigerian governance will be through democracy. That way, if the gentleman's agreement is still working, then we can definitely, have a pseudo democratic election, but we know that the one is going to come from a certain area. But in this particular election process right now, we've seen different candidates from different 4 regions. We've seen Atiku from the South, from the North. We see Kwankwaso from the north. We've seen what's his name from the west, Osiwaju, and then we see, LP, presidential candidate Peter Obi from the southeast. So, the thing is that we can't use that kind of government, who is going to be one individual, and what will be the process of making sure that every part of Nigeria is well represented. So, but right now, what we are seeing with the structure that we have so far, we are moving forward. We are heading, by God's grace, we're going to be reaching that El Dorado that you talk about very soon. If the right candidate is that we know that is well prepared and have the the knowledge and intelligence and the structure to take the nation by the horn and take it to the promised land. So that El Dorado is very, very possible, from this election, from the way we are seeing it. And because of the enthusiasm and excitement that you are seeing out there, people are refusing to be denied their constitutional rights to vote. People are demanding equity, fairness, and justice in this election. So now you saw when they were closing a polling unit, that they were unable to download or to transfer the results for the presidential. And the citizens say, we are not leaving until it is done. And we have a certification that it is done. So that's exactly what we need in Nigeria at this moment.
That is exactly what we need in Nigeria at this moment. Nigeria claims to be practicing federalism. And with my own idea of federalism, we are way far behind it. We are not practicing federalism. What we probably would have worked if we can embed it is regional republic. That's every region to itself. Then the head is still there, the center is still there. Then every region has a quota of what they put in to the center, and that is how some parts of Europe work actually. But we don't seem to understand much of these governmental structures and ways of doing things. We're just running with anything we see, and we will now do it in our own cranky way. So, but like you said, we are hoping to see the change from this election today. We know this election might not end today. We know it might stretch till tomorrow, but at least at the end of it all, there will be a winner will emerge. And if no winner emerges, then there will be a runoff, and the runoff will also bring up somebody. So we are hoping for change, and change will come. Nigerians in the diaspora are also eager. A lot of them want to see change. They are tired of sending money back home and nothing is coming out of it. Nothing. We just keep sending and sending. And the mouth, no amount of money you send to your people,
enough.
There's no amount that will help, that will solve it. After sending 1 billion, one day they'll still call you and tell you, we need more. It's finished, So we really want something that will be put in place that will just change everything once and for all, at least. And one of such things is a good leadership that will also begin to look. George, last time you and I were talking on the emergence of startups, small businesses.
That's right.
Small businesses. Small business helps grow the national economy.
That's
but
right.
The African leaders don't understand that. So they feast their eye on just the big things. They're not looking well on ground to the small business. The other time, Nigeria had a plan to mobilize market women. There was something called the traders' money. But the news I had from the traders' money is there were just some handpicked, selected women that were given that small cash. it didn't really enter the fabrics of the Nigerian traders' entrepreneurship. So what will you say? Small business, starting up, encouraging small business, encouraging startups, encouraging youths with these ideas they have. The youths of Nigeria, their brains are burning with innovation, with ideas, with technology. But nobody is looking at that side. Nobody is supporting them. Nobody is giving them all it takes to push them up. George.
What you need to understand is, and that is the reason why we are running away from the status quo in Nigeria. We are running away from the way things used to be done. We don't want the old politician recycling the same type of leadership again and again. So what we are looking forward to is a fresh start, a fresh beginning, and a new type of leadership in Nigeria, active leadership in Nigeria. Now you look at the four candidates that we have. You listen to each one of them. What are their proposals? What do they have? What are in their platform to bring to Nigeria? You see that some don't even have anything to offer whatsoever. And some, you ask them questions, they would transfer the question, to others to answer them. But you see a leader that will come out and is prepared and has done everything, his homework, travel around the world.
Let me help you, sir. Let me help you, George. We have 7 people are giving you thumbs up for what you're saying. And listen, the crowd just keep jamming up in our broadcast today. We have 5,000 people listening to you now. So what you're saying is really imperative, is important to get it out there. Nigerians need to begin to have a mind of living out sentiment, tribal sentiment, religious sentiment has destroyed us. We've done things on tribe. Now my brother, now my uncle, now my townsman. We've done things on religion. You're not Muslim, you're not Christian. And those things have not taken us anywhere. Nowhere, George. George, go ahead. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, it's okay. And so what we are looking at is, now, for the very first time in Nigerian election, the citizens are being educated. It is no longer coming to shout and tell you all kinds of promises, but you don't tell them how to bring those promises to pass. We have had so many presidents that could have given light, the simplest necessity in life, to Nigeria, but for some reason, they have not been able to, to do that. So what we're looking at now is a new Nigeria. It's somebody that will center their attention to the masses. It's no longer about, the 3%ers, where the money has been flowing for the past several decades. We want somebody who will come, see the plight of every citizen, see the plight of the people, the middle classes, see the plight of the poor people, educate them and give them the help that they need to eradicate poverty in Nigeria. I know for the past few months, things has been very, very hard. But let me tell you all something. Your cry has actually reached heaven. By God's grace, I am hoping that candidate that will come out will be the one that the masses will say, this is our man that will take us to the promised land. So what you have seen in the past is, bringing leaders because, they feel like this is their turn, not because they are ready to govern. And when you put them there, others are governing through them. The past 8 years has been a disaster. But finally, I am looking at something that this man Buhari has done in preparation for this election. Yeah, there are so many mishaps here and there which will happen in any election. But generally, in conclusion, he has done a marvelous work in trying to make sure the transition from this government to the next will be very seamless and sweatless. So that's what we are seeing. But I can tell you that this crowd that you are seeing now, they have listened. They have listened to the candidates. Masses in Nigeria are quite educated. They are very enlightened. They are very intelligent. And they have been listening to the candidates. And they know that person who is telling them, who got the proper blueprint that will take Nigeria to the level where it's supposed to be that giant of Africa. Out of every 11 black man or black woman in the world is a Nigerian. So, you know, all of other nations in Africa are looking to this election, that finally there will be a change, that their leader, their champion would pass the way, you know, pave the way for them to follow. It is not only the European countries that are, you know, clamoring for a free and fair election. Many African nations are looking to Nigeria to lead. And this is exactly what we are seeing today, that by God's grace, Nigeria will see the light of day again, the way we're supposed to be.
By God's grace, Nigeria will see the light of day again. Now, we have children like this. See this video. These are the hope we have in Nigeria, and they want a good government. They want something different, something new, something that will that will change their lives too. So let's see.
So you see, for the very first time in Nigeria, the citizens are looking at the government in a different way. It used to be them. It used to be them and us. It used to be them handing out whatever, and everybody keeps quiet. Nigeria is demanding accountability. Nigeria is demanding responsibility among the people that are governing them. And this is what you are really seeing. People are refusing to go back to the way things used to be. They want something better, and they will get something better in this election by God's grace. We know the individual. We know the individual who is well prepared, who is well organized structurally to take Nigeria to that level. It's no longer just because it's my turn. It's now I am capable to deliver the promises that I am making. And I have the structure put together, a powerful blueprint that will take Nigeria to that place where it's supposed to be. So that's why people are standing. That's why the youth refuse to sit back at home and then let them go do whatever they want to do. This is a new Nigeria. A new Nigeria where people would demand accountability from the government. There's a change taking place in our country, and that change will go throughout the whole entire Africa. So, you know, I'm saddened for the past few months now, the scarcity of fuel, the scarcity of, you know, Naira and all those. But it is usually darkest before dawn. So everybody you see here, they are all looking for that future hope, a bright hope for this country. That's why what you're seeing there.
Good. So we're going to switch network now and see more updates, live updates from on-ground correspondents. Our on-ground correspondent will be giving us updates, live updates. So good commentary, George. We can't say you in fact what you're saying is just so beautiful that you don't know that it's also impacting a lot of people. It's a new dawn in Nigeria. It's a new dawn. So let's hear the
All right, Benjamin, we want to say thank you very much for your time. Let's come in straight to the studio here. Well, let's still look at this. Professor Mahmoud actually spoke, and he highlighted the fact that, like our reporters have actually mentioned, Okota, Mafoluku, Oshodi. And Legacy, although he noted that in Ikate, voting has begun.
Yes. I did get some feedback too that in Elegushi, Kate, voting has started and they're clamoring for people to come back and exercise their rights to vote. And I'm happy he mentioned that because we do deserve free and fair elections. That's a phrase we've been throwing around for so many years, free and fair. But if it's not ensure that every citizen gets the right to vote, then it's not fair in any way, shape, or form. We have citizens who came from the diaspora, who flew down, left their jobs, their families, just to come and say, I want greater Nigeria, we want a progressive nation. And you mean that we would allow thugs to dismantle the entire process and then say we have some substantial decision to make and say that, oh, this election will be nullified? It's not possible. We have to ensure that across the nation, we do our very best to ensure that citizens who want to vote, citizens who took the time out to go and get their PVCs, citizens who took the time out to pick up their PVCs, exercise their right today to vote for their candidate, the candidate that they believe is best to take us forward as a country.
All right, thank you, Toyera. And Oba Adeoye, our correspondent, is at Obalinde area of Lagos to give us more insight on situation there. Oba, over to you. What do you make of scenario over there?
Yes, counting of ballot continues in several polling units around town. Just coming from Surulere some moments back, and at the various polling units that were visited, they have already completed the counting of ballots with the result transmitted already. But here in Obalinde, you can see this unit has it's a very populous unit with so many voters, and that is why you see counting of ballots still going on here, and people are still, they are counting the ballots with the electoral officer here. You can see some of them using their electronic devices to record the proceedings, while many are just, following them by counting. Okay, you can see what is happening on the camera there. So moments ago, I was at Surulere, where I visited a polling unit at the Falfolu Junction in Surulere, and the report we got there that took us there was that some thugs came in a minibus to create commotion at that polling unit, and we saw two empty shells of bullets at that polling unit because a stampede was created and people ran away. And at the end of the day, we were told that the thugs, went away with the ballot box of the presidential election, leaving behind the ballot boxes of the senatorial election and the House of Rep election. So as it is right now, many people were injured in that polling unit, and we're told that they are nursing their injuries in their respective homes as we speak at the moment.
All right, okay, Oba, you've mentioned this as it stands right now. A lot of people, what's the security presence in Obalende? Because usually it's one of those flashpoints a lot of people were expecting things to unravel in. What's the security situation there?
Yes, the security men are at alert. You can see them. I don't know if the camera can see them. You can see their truck. They are at alert, watching the proceedings of the election here. They are just some meters away from the point where the ballot is being counted. Everything is in order in Obalinde. We have not heard of any clash or any violence whatsoever across Obalinde. I agree with you that Obalinde is one of the flashpoints when, elections take place. But today, I have not heard or I have not seen anywhere where there is any clash or any violence in Obalinde right now. I want to give kudos to the military men, the police officers, and other uniformed men on duty. They have comported themselves so very professionally in this election. And in many places that I visited, they are practically on holiday because there was nothing really to tend to, except perhaps in Ikate, Elegushi, which I visited some hours back at one of the polling units in that area. We were told that some thugs also invaded them, destroying election materials, ballot papers, tables, the cubicles, and what have you. There we saw a detachment of military men with an armored tank. We also saw several policemen and other police officers in that place, but they were able to restore peace and orderliness in that environment before we left the place. So practically on the overall, policemen and other uniformed men in places that I visited have been on holiday, so to say.
Very good, Oba. Now, in densely populated areas such as the scenario behind you, how would you say the logistics is like? Is it enough in terms of the beavers machine and, of course, other materials as well, and in other places you've been to?
I think there's an issue with INEC logistics in this election in some of the places that we went to. In Lekki, for an instance, where the popular musician turned politician voted, that's Banky W. Election did not start there until around 19 minutes past 12. The election was supposed to start at 8:30, but it never started in that place until around 19 minutes past 12. We have about 3 to 4 polling units on that spot. So if you look at that, it's like it's a minus for INEC in terms of logistics provision for the election. We have not had too much of the beavers failing in this election, but we have had cases of elections starting quite behind schedule. We also got to a place in Victoria Island as at maybe 11:30, between 11:30 and 12. The election materials had not arrived that particular polling unit. So beyond the lateness of election materials getting to polling units, the beavers machines and other things, worked very well in places that I saw, that I visited.
All right, many thanks to you, Deoye, our rights correspondent, for bringing us the latest from Obalende. Now, moving on to Oyo State, where the governor, Seyi Makinde, has cast his vote at his Ward 11, Unit 1 polling unit along the Iwo Road axis of Ibadan, the state capital. Now, in the chat with Arise News, Governor Makinde describes the election as seamless, while hoping that the will of voters would prevail. Arise correspondent Olutayo Famous has more.
The late arrival of INEC election materials and personnel in parts of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, did not stop prospective voters from exercising their rights as they patiently waited to vote. Security agents also mounted strategic points in a bid to forestall any breakdown of law and order, and so as to increase confidence in voters.
Let us all obey the law. The rules are there, let's follow it. And we all have reason to say, thank God, Oyo State remain peaceful.
Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde arrived at Ward 11, Unit 1 polling unit, where he met many persons yet to vote as at 10 a.m., but called for patience. After eventually voted, the governor described the voting as seamless while hoping that it will reflect the true yearnings of Nigerians.
They should be patient. The process is ongoing, it's seamless, and they should exercise their civic responsibility.
In other parts of town, residents trooped out en masse to cast their ballot, while others took to the streets to play football, saying that despite the initial hitches experienced at the commencement of the voting, the biometric verification and accreditation system, BVAS, was largely effective.
I think so far it looks quite peaceful, and everything is progressing well. From where I've been to and where I casted my votes, it's obvious that INEC were there on time, and most people actually casted their votes quite early.
The only reason that I see is that maybe the current situation of our country, I mean the cashless policy that caused everything. That is first. Secondly, the INEC official they did not come early today. I think they just arrived now, maybe 30 minutes past.
INEC official, they are late before they come this morning. If we are outside before they come, because I've been outside since 7 o'clock. So, and I will still go there to go and take my number. So before anything, I'll go back to work.
The expectations from this cross-section of Nigerians is that the winner of the presidential election would help to deliver more dividends of democracy when he is announced by INEC. Olutayofe Moscow, Arise News, Ibadan.
Iowa State Governor Nyesom Wike has voted in today's presidential election, finally, after he complained about the functionality of the beavers in his polling unit. Governor Wike has come out with his wife, Suzette Eberechi, at polling unit 7, Ward 9 in Rumwe, Recom in Obia Apo local government area, but could not vote because the beavers machine failed to accredit their PVC. After over 2 hours of waiting, a new set of devices were employed and the governor was successfully screened to vote. However, his wife could not vote for the second time as the machine again failed to accredit her.
You can imagine the large crowd, meaning that so many people will be disenfranchised, and that could lead to a lot of crisis. I can even still believe that of all the promises made after I've left my wife for more than 2 hours, yet the beavers is still not very functional. I don't want to begin to suspect any foul play, but from the reports I've received from other local governments, it does appear to be the same experience. And then you would now wonder, why should it be peculiar to Rivers State? I don't want to make any suspicion yet, but I don't think it's quite encouraging. Yeah, my people cannot be disenfranchised. You can see we never had an election where you have this number of crowd. I believe that they will extend the period to 6 p.m. I mean, look at the time now. Voting ought to have started from 8:30 to about 2:30, but we're just starting. So I'm not happy with the preparedness of INEC as regards to the beavers.
Still making the rounds, let's cross over to Kano State, where Benga Ashiru joins us. Benga?
You're muted.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me
can
now?
hear you now. Yes, I can hear you
Good.
now.
Okay, so we are getting all the updates. You had what is happening in Rivers State.
That's
The
right.
governor voted, but the wife couldn't vote. And this is the second time it's happening to her. Last time, 2019, I remember also hearing that, watching that, she couldn't vote. The machine just stopped working. And the governor also said it's peculiar. This thing is peculiar in some parts of the south Rivers State. So with all these beavers malfunction, all these breakdown of some of the gadgets, can we still derive at the number we want? Can we still get, because we're talking about 87 voters that have been accredited, and we need to, and we have 4 major contestants for this election. 4 major, but we still have others too. You remember there are 18 in all.
Mm-hmm.
But can this number be done in such a way that the winner gets at least 38 million of that line, that threshold?
Well,
go ahead.
It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. You know, nothing can be called right now. Majorly, I know there are so many places where there are things that has happened which does not spell, success, altogether for INEC and for the preparation of this entire thing. But if we are able to get up to at least 80% votes counted, then I think we are okay. Then like the runoffs that is going to take place, especially in Bayelsa and some other places, like you heard the governor of Rivers State, expressing dissatisfaction over those things and hoping that they will extend the time to 6 p.m. so the masses can be able to exercise their voting rights, which I believe that they might be able to. So, some of these little glitches, it could spell disaster, especially if it's centered in certain area. Then it may be accredited to, some kind of fraudulent activity going on. But we have to wait and see. We can't speculate, but as the news are coming in from different angles, what we are seeing is that a lot of people are just very disenfranchised, from being able to vote. Like the young boy that was playing soccer, just say that, the INEC came very late. They're supposed to have started like 4 hours before, but they just got there 30 minutes before. So hopefully they'll be able to, allow people to vote before they close up by 6 p.m. That's where we are right now.
Serious discussion indeed. The serious issue there. We are monitoring things. Let's switch over also to other network. But before then, some comments are coming in. Bobo Ways says, God help us. Really, at this point in time, God only can help Nigeria.
That's it.
because there is so much I mean the road is real difficult. The output, INEC has tried. Let's hear something about INEC, George. INEC has pulled up, they've made some efforts compared to the last Anambra election and the Osun election. What do you think? What will you say about INEC and their performance?
The structure can be there. The structure can be placed, but the application sometimes can be faulty because, there might be loopholes or penetrations or cracks in the hole where, some of these desperate candidates can penetrate in to begin to look at what is going on. INEC might have been doing their own jobs. And now, if you go back and see the truth about some of these places that are coming late, some of these INEC officials that are coming late, it could be as a result of transportation. It could be as a result of picking up what they need and being delivered on time, and then being able to transport themselves to the locations. It could be. Now, we just heard that some gunshots were heard somewhere where they snatched the presidential box. Why did they leave everything else, but they made sure that it was the presidential ballot box that was taken? So you are beginning to see desperation. And the question now is, where were those military men or those security agents that were sent there, to guard these things? Were they not around when this happened? How could it happen in their own in their faces? So you have to begin to ask questions sometimes, but at large, I believe that we might be able to, scale through some of these obstacles and, and come to a very victorious, conclusive end at the end of the day.
Yes, we will. We will. This is what we're seeing now is the counting of votes in Delta states. I'm still trying to check where exactly, which of the polling booths, but it's the counting of votes in a part in Delta. My on-ground coordinator we're having some small technical thing there. So, but it's Delta State you're seeing, and they're counting the votes, and people are watching. Everybody's keen. Everybody's watching with all rapt attention. Now, George, look at this. They are counting these votes and the place is dark because there is no electricity.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Anything can go on there now. Now it's the light from the car flashlight that they are using as light. You see?
And that is one thing that you were talking about, startup businesses. Yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
To be ready for Nigeria to move to that next level, the next president must ensure that the first thing that they will do is to bring light to Nigeria. And any president that succeeds in doing that will become what you call the Messiah that God has sent for us, for such a political Messiah per se. That's right. So because look at what is happening. Okay, look at this now. They're using a vehicle, the light from the vehicle, to count votes in a country as big as Nigeria. As big as Nigeria. It's intolerable. It's unacceptable that we can have such magnitude of what I will call, just like mineral resources and wealth, and yet we're still, almost like in the 50s when it comes to, even in the 50s, it was better in Nigeria. There were lights all over, there were water all over, But now look at it, it's almost like we're regressing rather than progressing. And these politicians will come and make promises from here to kingdom come, and they know how to be able to excuse themselves when they have not performed well.
Now, George, I can tell you that these cars putting on their flashlight for them to count obviously have interest in that counting. And that means they probably have rooted a particular presidential candidate. So they want to count well. They want to see the light. They want the light so they can count well. So, but it's sad. So in this case, there's no transparency here, because the man putting on the light will say, I'm putting on this light because my candidate must win, and that's why I'm putting on this light, and the person I have chosen will come out.
No, that's a supposition, because yes, because you cannot say that. Some of these citizens that are there, might have voted for different candidates, and what they are there to do is what we were instructing them to do. Go and cast your vote, but make sure that you stay there to ensure that those votes you cast, that you have casted will be counted and will be downloaded to the INEC officials. So that's what you see there. So I don't think it's just because I'm giving you light. It could have been some of them, who are actually making sure that this thing is done fairly, equitably, are the ones that are, just sacrificing their batteries and to give light to make sure that it is done right. So it might not be the people that are wanting their own candidate to win, because many people cast their votes for different candidates here. The majority might have casted for a particular person, but I don't think that somebody will come and say, I'm giving you light, you therefore make sure that there is an exponential multiplication of votes for my candidate when it's not there. Well, it's like Trump calling Georgia and said, go and find 11,000 votes. I need 11,000, go and find it. Is that a miraculous multiplication or what?
I'm reasoning how they reason sometimes. That's how actually people will want to put something. Nobody gives anything for free. You want to give and get back. So anyway, that's South. That's somewhere in Delta State, and they are counting the votes. The papers, the ballot sheets are taken out one by one for our viewers that are following us. We have quite a number of them there online. George, I see that Nigerians in diaspora are so concerned. Today's broadcast with you, I've had huge numbers of people looking. So everybody's curious. Everybody's eager to see a change. George, is that not true?
It is true. It is true. Because you see a lot of diasporians that are living abroad, like somebody used to say before, that it used to be that people that are going abroad are the ones that actually they want to go and study and then run back to Nigeria because, things were good. But all of a sudden, people are running away from Nigeria, no longer to go and study, but for survival. It is so sad. It is so sad. And diasporans are very, very interested in this election, simply because they want to make sure that finally a person will be elected that can change the conversation in Nigeria. And therefore, instead of that brain drain, it will become a brain gain where, experts will begin to come back because things are happening very well in Nigeria. And this is why we're keeping our fingers crossed that Almighty God will see us through and make sure that that individual that we have prayed for since the independence finally will emerge, victoriously in this election so that our country can begin to prosper once again. That's what we're looking for.
Thank you very much, George. George, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. So we are still, you're live with us, SSM News Echo Election 2023 Situation Room. We are also checking on, and now the counting has begun, and the counting is going on in a transparent way because no police booth officer wants to get burned. George, that's what is happening. Nobody wants to get burned, so everybody wants to do things transparently. Nobody wants to be killed. Nobody wants to suffer anything. Is that not so, George?
That's it. That's it. That's what we're looking for.
So that's why we have that attention. See everybody's eyes. And the officers want to be as transparent as they can. They don't want this trouble from this crowd.
You'll be surprised. You'll be so surprised that some of the instructions and some of the, sharing that we did to the citizens, that they listened. And you're seeing the result now when we were telling them to make sure, don't sit at home, go and vote. Let your vote count. It's your constitutional right. It's no longer them and us anymore. It is us now. And this is where we are. So that people can go out. That's what you're seeing. A lot of people refuse to go home until they make sure that their votes were counted and that it was downloaded and sent to INEC, center. So you're seeing it all across Nigeria, reporting from different areas. So, but my question is, what will INEC now do regarding those presidential ballot box that was stolen somewhere from Lagos? And is it possible to find out what candidate is it that sent those thieves to come and to hijack those boxes? This investigation must be done. It must be done.
It must be done. Yes,
it must be done.
George, let's go to Kanu. Kanu is Kanu is also giving us some updates now. Benga Ashiru is giving us update from Kanu. Kanu State is not Nigeria. Not South Nigeria.
Inclusivity matters.
Not South Nigeria
in this election. And
right. Well, thank you very much indeed. I mean, that's obviously a very important aspect of this election, and that's a measure of how advanced a country is. The way that people living with disabilities are able to participate in elections such as this. Let me come to you, Dr. Constance Ikoku, because I mean, you've been keeping an eye for us across the country, talking to different people, some of the election monitors, the situation rooms, and all the rest of it. One of the big issues in this election that's raised concern has been the question of security. I mean, I don't understand why, despite the apparent deployment of soldiers, police, Department of State Security, or state services, civil defense and all the rest of it, all these disruptions have been taking place. I mean, what's your assessment of the security presence across this country?
Well, as I said earlier, it hasn't been a uniform report across the country. So in urban areas, we have seen the presence of security officers. In some states, there has been chaos, a little bit of confusion. So for instance, in Rivers State, in Lagos State particularly, a bit in Kogi State, and I think in Bayelsa, as our reporter on the ground sent us a report. In so many other parts of the country, it has been relatively peaceful. People were able to go out, stand in the queues if it meant standing in the queue for the whole day, because even as we speak right now, there are people that are still waiting to vote. Why? Because the INEC officials did not turn up early. And then in addition to that, I think that the polling units, some of the polling units had so many people that I know in Abuja here, some of their polling units were over 1,000 people. So they had to wait longer hours. So it has been generally peaceful. Of course, we do not have enough security officers when we count the number of people we have in Nigeria. Our population is over 200 million people. And I don't think we have up to 100 million policemen, of course not. So you would have a bit of challenge, but I think that they have also deployed security strategically to places perhaps that they are needed most. For instance, Lagos State, to urban centers where we have a lot of people, Kano State, Katsina, and other areas. So we have been able to manage that so far. I haven't seen reports of sporadic, terrible violence. The elections have been going on okay as we speak.
Amina, I want to bring you back into this conversation because you do have insights as to how elections work in Nigeria. I haven't been a part of the electoral body. Would you say, higher registered voters equal higher turnout? And I'm asking because we've seen an additional 9 million plus registered for this election. A key demographic of that number, Nigerian youth. Is it too early to talk about the turnout in this election today? What have you noticed?
Yeah, I think it's too early, and I had gone to vote, and my polling unit, I wasn't comfortable with the number I saw. And I've seen some reports coming in through the Twitter, and I see certain low numbers. So I'm not convinced the hype and the number of persons that collected the PVC will actually translate into higher turnout. But we'll wait to see. We hope to cross the 30 million number. I'm not sure we could go so far.
Right, and let me stay with you, Amina Zakari. We'll come to Dr. Constance Ikoku in a minute, but I mean, again, you've got that inside track. What about, obviously there were disruptions in some polling units in different parts of Nigeria, but what about in those places where there was no disruption? What are you hearing about the counting of ballots and the uploading of results? Because I wonder if we have any sense of when we might get a result. Is it likely to be earlier than usual because of the new technology-driven voter system?
I'm not sure it will be earlier than usual because they have two streams of collation officers, one collating just the presidential so that it can be quickly done with, while the other stream will be collating the senatorial and the House. However, we can't really say we're going to get an earlier than usual because it's still the same system, the same manual input at the collation center, and we still have to wait for the recs to come into Abuja individually to deliver the results with the returning officers. So I think if we get it early, maybe Tuesday night. I'm not saying this on behalf of INEC, but from experience, knowing the terrains in Nigeria, because you still have to collate from every ward, every RA to local government, then to the state level, then fly into Abuja and deliver the results. So I think Nigerians should be patient. We are doing better than a lot of countries. We've gone for observation in countries where it's after we came back to Nigeria, the results are actually finalized, audited, and released officially. but you may get unofficial results. But it doesn't happen in Nigeria. The results have to be official and certified at the end of the election.
Indeed. And Dr. Constance Ikoko, I want to ask you the same question I asked Amina Zachary a moment ago. Do you think that because we have highest registered voters so far, we're likely to see highest registered, highest voters come out this time around? I'm talking about voter apathy that has been a part of our election cycles. Do you think we may be seeing a shift? Are we bucking that trend?
Well, it doesn't follow that when you have a high number of registered voters that they will actually turn out on election day. Having said that, in this election, we are seeing massive turnout. I mean, I live in Abuja and I've been talking to people. I went around to some polling units and there were a lot of people queuing and waiting patiently. I mean, from morning till evening, people are still waiting to vote. So I think that during this election, Nigerians want to send an incredibly powerful message that, you know what, we are tired. We really want to do something different. Whoever wins in this election, I think that they will be sending the message that we either want to go forward or we want to go backwards. So I think that at the end of the day, by the time the votes are tallied and the numbers start coming out, we might see that there has been a high number of turnout and across the country. And that is very good for Nigeria. That is really good for Nigeria because it begins to tell politicians that you can no longer do what you used to do. I think this election will be a teachable moment for many politicians and for a lot of leaders in our country. It's going to say you can no longer be abrasive. You can no longer get a position and do whatever you like and go away with it and get away with it. People are going to be asking the questions. People are going to want to hold you accountable for whatever position you hold. So we're hoping to see that this election is a turnaround from the past. We're waiting for the results to come in.
Right, and Dr. Amina Zachary, I don't know if you've become a doctor quite yet, but if you are, then I certainly wouldn't have any problems calling you one. But I mean, we've got a couple of minutes left before we have to end the conversation and set you free, because I know you've got other things to do. But given your experience of spending the amount of time that you did, a decade at INEC, and being an objective person now, I mean, you don't owe INEC anything necessarily. Is it your sense that this poll has been generally compliant?
Yeah, it's normally compliant. It's been generally compliant, except for a few areas, and those areas where materials were not delivered on time. Certainly there will be lapses. There will not be enough time for people to actually complete voting before maybe the young men get agitated to leave the areas. So for me, those areas that were peaceful and compliant are plenty, are many. We always get to hear problems from the fewer areas that had problems, but those areas that have problems may not necessarily comply as best as what we had in the good areas. And I'm hoping for a day that every time we go out for elections, it will be like a textbook, like what was written in the textbook. We tend to find that a lot of discrepancies, people take the instructions differently. You have to, even my polling unit, I had to correct the ad hoc staff because they were taking the instructions upside down. So basically, and this is because we change our ad hoc staff every 4 years. If only we can have a system where we have people that have done election over and over again, you'll find that within the next 3-4 cycles, there will be textbook type of election. Like in Ghana, they actually employ them from presiding officer, you grow to the next level. But in Nigeria, every time, everybody is new. You hardly find people that have conducted like 3 elections consecutively. Maybe they would have conducted an election as a student, then as a copper, and that's the end of it. So I think we need to remove that suspicious nature and begin to groom and train people that will be our election officials until we get it to a point that you have textbook kind of elections. We've seen textbook elections in certain countries where every polling unit behaved the same way because they've had training over and over again, and they've been ad hoc staff over and over again. So I think that's my take on this.
That's a very good point.
Indeed. And we thank you so much for sparing us this moment. Amina Zachary, a former INEC National Commissioner, and of course, our very own analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku.
Thank you very much, my partners in Arise TV. This is SSM News Echo Election 2023 Situation Room. George and I were here to look into the new updates. George, you heard all our colleagues said. A lot is going on. Well, what do you think with this? With some polling stations not through with their election, their voting yet, you think this will linger till midnight or tomorrow morning, George?
No, I believe that I don't think it's going to go beyond 6 p.m. That might be the current time. When what time is it now in Milan?
Yes, Nigerian time is 7:30.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So basically, what we are looking at right now, I don't think anybody is still voting at this moment, unless for some reason they are being allowed. So what we are looking at, some of the polling stations, many of them right now are counting their votes basically, and just downloading the result to the INEC center. So that's where we are right now, because if it's like around 7 something, that means that the voting has already stopped. Now, the ones that are postponed or the ones that are going to be runoffs or whatever the case might be, they have already set up the time for that, hopefully. So what we are doing now is for those that have already voted, many of them must still be at the polling stations, making sure that the votes are, counted fairly, equitably, and justifiably. So that the result will be downloaded to the INEC center. So that's where we are right now. So, part of the discussion before was, that we used to have voter apathy, whereby people, didn't want to come out and vote. But I don't think there is any voter apathy in this particular election, because people want to exercise their voting rights. And because of the way things are in Nigeria, you see so many people wanting change, and that's why they're registered, and that's why they voted, and they want to make sure that change is going to be instituted when the next leader, comes in.
Wonderful, George. Do you have the time today? Do you know that the crowd, the viewers are still on, and I'm looking at your time. I mean, we can't keep you up all day in the studio. Do you have the time? Do you want to go on a small break? We need to beg the viewers. If you want to go on a short break and come back.
We can go on a short break and come back. Yes, yeah. Okay. So tell me, when do you want us to come back again?
Yes, because we'll have the general one where most news
polling stations.
Yes, news echoes correspondents will all be here, and
what time?
Also, our net partners in Nigeria, when they will really have, because we're waiting for the updates, we're waiting for the numbers, waiting for the results. So do we come back in the next 2 hours? Are you okay for
2 hours? 2 hours is fine. Yeah, we'll come back in the next 2 hours. That's great.
Very good, George. Very good. So this is it. Viewers around the world, diasporans are eager. They've never been this eager before, George. They've been anxiety is high, and that's because we all want the best for our country. That's our homeland.
That's it.
And we want the best. So let's go home with some small entertaining things to spice up our what we've been doing. Thank you.
Hello, fellow Nigerians. This is Chinwe from Lusaka, Zambia, wishing Nigeria a free, fair, and successful election. May God help us. Amen.